Now, Realme 6, in my opinion, was the most impactful Realme smartphone to hit the country. Not only did this smartphone mark a lot of firsts for its segment, it also set the benchmark in the performance department and single-handedly changed everyone's perception about MediaTek's processors. Now, that's partly why people are still buying the Realme 6, and it's also why the phone's successor, the Realme 7, has some pretty big shoes to fill. Now, I've been using this phone for a couple of days, and in this video, I'll give you my 2 cents on whether you should buy it or leave it. But guys, before we get on with the video, make sure to hit the bell icon and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, so that you don't miss out on any quality tech content that Mr. Phone puts out. Now that you've done that, let's get on with the full review of the Realme 7. Now, I've been saying this for a while that all Realme phones look the same. I mean, if you look at pretty much any Realme phone across any price segment, then what you'll essentially have is a vertically aligned camera setup towards the left. It's a very Realme design ethos, and I've been asking the brand to step up its game in the design department for a very long time now. Well, the Realme 7 definitely looks different when compared to the Realme 6, but it still doesn't have its own identity, as it resembles its parent company's Reno 4 Pro quite a lot. Now, while I would have liked the phone to have a bit more identity, I will admit the design did grow on me after a while, especially the back, which offers a matte gradient finish with a split running to the left of the phone along its camera module. Now, I think of this as Realme 7's very own racing stripe, which coincidentally makes sense given how the company's motto for this launch is Faster 7. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is that while the Realme 7 does not look outrightly unique, it still managed to impress me with its design, and I am sure that once you get your hands on the phone, you'll feel the same too. The one thing you can't get away with though is the Realme 7's in-hand feel, and with the majority of the device making use of plastic for its construction, you can probably tell that the phone doesn't feel as premium as, say, the Poco M2 Pro, which comes with a glass back. Now, that's not to say that the phone feels cheap, and the use of plastic does mean that the Realme 7 is lighter by over 10 grams actually. Also, thanks in part to its curvy back, the phone is really grippy and comfortable to hold too. I could even use the phone with just one hand, and I'm not someone with tall fingers, so I am guessing that you should be fine too. Now, while I have been advocating for the company to spruce things up in the design department, I am glad that some things haven't changed, including the phone's speedy side-mounted capacitive fingerprint sensor, which unlocked the device in the blink of an eye. It's quite convenient to use too, however, I still relied more on the phone's excellent facial recognition, which comes with lift to wake feature too, thereby allowing me to get into my home screen in one seamless motion. Oh, and don't worry, you don't always have to press the power button for your fingerprint to register on it, and a gentle tap works too. And while we are on the subject, you should know that the volume rocker, which can be found on the phone's left-hand spine below the smartphone's 2+1 SIM card tray, it's quite clicky too. There's a headphone jack present on the phone as well, which can be found at the bottom alongside the handset's USB 2.0 Type-C port and its mono speaker grille. Now, all things considered, the Realme 7 brings a new spin to the design of the number series from the brand, and it manages to get the basics right. In fact, the only thing I disliked about the design of the Realme 7 was its feeble vibration motor, which offered an unsatisfying tactile feedback. Other than that, I am quite impressed with the design on offer here, so let's see if the phone can offer a similarly pleasing experience in the display department. Display-wise, the Realme 7 comes equipped with a 6.5-inch Full HD Plus LCD display, which is quite similar to what you get with the Realme 6. In fact, I really can't tell the difference between the two. They both offer a punch hole notch, shipped with a high refresh rate of 90Hz, and even the peak brightness level is the same at 480 nits. Now, similarities aside, the display on the Realme 7 is a notch above the competition. Do you get it? Okay, sorry. So where was I? Yes, it's a notch above the competition, as it offers a 90Hz refresh rate screen in a segment that is still dominated by 60Hz panel. Now, obviously this is an LCD, so you do miss out on striking colors offered by an AMOLED panel, but I didn't face any major issues with the quality of the display per se, and for me, movies were just as enjoyable to watch on the Realme 7 as, say, the Galaxy M31s. The viewing angles were decent, there was little to no color shift when I tilted the display, and for an LCD screen, the blacks were surprisingly black and not greyish. Furthermore, the Realme 7 does indeed come with Widevine L1 certification, so you can stream your favorite TV shows and movies from Netflix and Prime in HD. Now there's no HDR support present here, but the touch sampling rate of the display is on par with the competition, so you will indeed have a blast playing competitive action shooters like Call of Duty on the phone. Now one more thing I'd like to point out here is that while the Realme 7 comes with a bundled TPU case and a screen protector from the get-go, you also get a layer of Corning's Gorilla Glass version 3 on the display, so you should be able to keep scratches and dings at bay. I suppose then that the only thing that I don't like about the Realme 7's display is that at 480 nits, it's not particularly bright for an LCD panel. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was still able to use the phone outdoors comfortably for the most part, but there were times that under harsh sunlight, I still had to squint my eyes or cover the top of the phone with my hand so that I could actually see the content on the screen. Now, as I mentioned in the design section, the Realme 7 comes with a headphone jack and a mono speaker grill positioned at the bottom. Now, this isn't a fancy jack and you don't get high-res certification here, but it does the job and I didn't notice any interference or static noise creep up when I connected my earphones to the handset. The speaker is actually really good as it gets quite loud, so you should have a good time watching movies on the phone. Now, as for the call quality, I tested this phone on Airtel's postpaid SIM and got stellar network coverage where I live. The download and upload speeds were to my liking too, and I rarely dropped calls on the Realme 7, which is ideal if you take a lot of phone calls during the day. And if you commute whilst taking such calls, then you will be glad to know that the phone comes with an electronic compass along with all the other necessary sensors too. Specs wise, the Realme 7 is the first phone in the world to be powered by MediaTek's Helio G95 gaming processor. Now the chip works alongside 6GB or 8GB of LPDDR4X memory, and correspondingly you'll get either 64GB or 128GB of UFS 2.1 storage. So how does the Realme 7 perform? Well, ideally it should perform really well, but so far it hasn't really lived up to its name. You see, when I attended the press briefing for the Realme 7, I was told that the Helio G95 processor powering this smartphone is going to be superior to the Helio G90T powering the Realme 6. So far, I've gotten really mixed results with the phone. Take the synthetic benchmarks for instance, and while the smartphone scores better when compared to the Realme 6 in AnTuTu and 3D Mark, it falls shy of its predecessor score in Geekbench. In a similar fashion, while the Realme 6 can play PUBG comfortably at HDR and Ultra or Smooth and Extreme with little to no frame drops, the Realme 7 currently maxes out at HD and High or Smooth and Ultra for the same game. I mean, comparing the specs of the G95 to the G90T, both the processors are pretty much the same, with the G95 offering a slight boost of 100 MHz to its GPU, so the performance should undoubtedly be consistently better here. Now, that being said, my gaming experience has been fantastic on the phone and I didn't come across any instances of lag or stutter while playing PUBG on HD and High. I even wrapped up a bunch of chicken dinners in games with intense gun battles, and I never felt like I was missing out on anything with the Realme 7. Same goes for my day-to-day usage too, and the Realme 7 has been a star performer there as well, rendering animation smoothly, opening apps swiftly, and keeping a healthy number of applications in memory for buttery smooth multitasking. But the fact remains that the Realme 6 could do all of that too, and in certain games, particularly PUBG, it offered a better end user experience as well. Now, one thing I'd like to point out is that my unit of the Realme 7 would at times glitch when I was using Instagram, which, suffice it to say, was quite annoying because I use Instagram a lot. Now, I don't know what triggered it, but it happened more than a couple of times, which is what made me take a note of it in the first place. Now, I have reached out to folks at Realme and have notified them about the issue, so if anything develops on that end, I'll let you know. But so far, what you need to understand is that the Realme 7 is a really capable performer, but it's not outright better as compared to the predecessor Realme 6. Now, one of the USPs of the Realme 7 is that the phone comes with Sony's all-new 64-megapixel Sony IMX682 sensor at the back. Now, this is the same sensor which was present on the Samsung Galaxy M31s, and if you've seen my videos around that phone, I recently posted one by the way, then you will know that this is a very capable sensor. The rest of the camera specs of the Realme 7 are exactly the same as the Realme 6, so both the phones get an 8 megapixel wide angle sensor, a 2 megapixel macro sensor and a portrait lens as assisting shooters on the back, along with a 16 megapixel selfie camera. So seeing how the only differentiating factor between the Realme 6 and the Realme 7 is in the form of the respective 64MP sensors, how much better is the Sony IMX682 sensor on the new model? Well, not a whole lot if I'm being honest with you. Now I am working on a full camera comparison, actually a full comparison between these two smartphones, where I will be talking about their photography prowess in much more detail, but for the purpose of this review, here is a quick teaser. So in this wide shot taken from the two phones, you'll notice that barring the differences in the colors, in particular the green in the bushes behind the swing, which appears more vibrant on the Realme 7 shot, and the details in the dark parts, both the photos are more or less the same. Now during the day, you'll notice that all the shots you could take from the Realme 7 are just as good from the Realme 6 too, with very similar details and colors. Now the only distinguishing factor which I noticed pop up time and again was that the Realme 7 could squeeze out more information from the shadows and it had more vibrant hues. I'll talk more about where these two phones are different in photography department in a full in-depth camera comparison, but for now let's focus on the Realme 7. Now the Realme 7 is undoubtedly a very capable shooter, and all the wide shots I took with the phone during the day had ample details, good colors and excellent dynamic range. Furthermore, the smartphone could comfortably keep highlights in check whilst bringing out the information from dark bits of a composition too. Now I did notice instances of over sharpening at a closer crop in wide shots, but seeing how almost every phone under Rs 20,000 is guilty of the same, I can't really fault the Realme 7 here. Now as for the wide angle images, well, they could have been better for sure. I mean, the shots are serviceable, but there is noticeable barrel distortion towards the edges and the corner details are a miss too. Again, not the worst, but there is certainly room for improvement here. Same goes for the macro images too, and I found it quite difficult to get a gram-worthy ultra close-up with the phone. Now you'll need very stable hands and a very still subject to actually get your money's worth in this mode. The close-ups net a better result however, and once again you'll find colors aplenty in the photos taken from the Realme 7. Now this is in part owing to the AI scene recognition by the way, which automatically spruces up the hues in a shot. Now regardless, the end result is quite pleasing, and I found the close-ups I clicked with the phone to have crispy details and a gorgeous natural bokeh effect. The only downside I noticed here is that the phone really struggles to resolve the color red. I mean, here are two photos of a red flower and you would be hard pressed to tell one petal from the other in the two shots. Now the 64 megapixel high-res image is a hit and a miss too. While the photo does capture more details, at a closer crop you'll notice that the image is grossly over-sharpened. Furthermore, the smartphone struggled to keep the highlights in check, which quite frankly is the case with every competing device too, but I just thought you should know. So if you do want to click a good 64MP photo with the Realme 7, ensure that the source of light is behind you. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've never enjoyed selfie cameras on Realme phones. Now, despite turning off all the beautification features, they still beautify my skin, and the same is the case with the Realme 7 too. It's not a bad selfie camera, not by a stretch, and I actually got some good photos out of it too. But it would constantly soften my skin tone when I was on a video call on WhatsApp, Instagram or Snapchat, and even during the day, the shots I clicked with the phone, they all had blown out highlights around my cheeks and artificial colors too. Same goes for the portrait shots, which didn't have the cleanest of blur effects, and I could see part of my ear disappear in almost every single image. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the low light photos from the phone, and here the Realme 7 managed to impress me quite a bit. Now while the shot with the night mode disabled was nothing to write home about, the one with the night mode enabled was excellent. It had good details and very little noise around the dark areas, which is somewhat of a rarity in this price segment. Now the low light selfies were possible too, and with the screen flash enabled, I managed to get a share-worthy photo in a pitch dark scenario, which is great. Now coming to the videos, the Realme 7 can shoot videos in 1080p at 30 fps and 60 fps and in 4K at 30 fps. Now I shot a video from the phone in 1080p resolution in varying frame rates to give you an idea of how each looks like. Okay guys, so this right here is a 1080p 60 fps clip from the Realme 7. Now, as I mentioned previously, the stabilization should be better on the 30 fps clip, but do let me know if it's different. I'll obviously check it in post and let you guys know what I think of the two clips. Is nice, nicer on this one if the colors that are being shown to you on the screen are represented better in this clip as opposed to the one from the 60 fps clip. And also, now as you could probably tell, the 1080p 30 fps clip actually nets much better stability as compared to the 1080p 60 fps clip, which is why it is undoubtedly my winner in this segment. Now, if you did have a gimbal or something at your disposal, then maybe you could get buttery smooth footage with good stability with the 1080p 60 fps clip, but for handheld shooting, 30 fps frame rate is the way to go. Now, the Realme 7, much like most of the Realme phones, runs the company's Realme UI on top of Android 10. Now, it's been a while since the company has introduced new features with its custom skin, so if you're coming from a Realme or an Oppo phone, then chances are you will be quite familiar with the interface. Now, for the uninitiated, the UI offers all the staple features of Android, including a dark mode, navigational gestures, and Google's digital well-being suite. You also get some added utilities baked into the UI, such as an app cloner, an app locker, and various gesture-based commands. For instance, a swipe down with 3 fingers clicks a screenshot, and a swipe up will toggle the split screen view. Now, that being said, the ads and the bloatware situation is a bit concerning, with the default browser pushing random news articles, but it is quite easily fixable too. Other than that, the phone is running July security patch, and it offers essential utilities like a screen recorder and a call recorder too. Although the call recorder announces whenever a call is being recorded, so think twice before doing any sneaky business using the Realme 7. The battery life of the Realme 7 has been generous too. The handset offers a 5000 mAh battery this time around, which with the display set to 90Hz and on heavy usage offered me a screen on time of over 6 hours. Now, the good thing is that the phone refuels just as quickly and takes around 1 hour and 20 minutes to reach full charge thanks to its bundled 30-watt charger. Suffice it to say, Realme 7 will not give you any battery woes. Now, as of making this video, I don't yet know the pricing of the Realme 7, but from my understanding, this phone should be priced around 16 to 17,000 rupees. Now, for the price, this phone does get a lot of things right, and it offers a good looking design, a good quality display, it lasts really long, is a capable performer, and it also comes with a good set of cameras. Now, the problem is that this is a very marginal upgrade over the Realme 6, which already is a fantastic smartphone. Heck, in some cases, I had a better experience, such as gaming, on the Realme 6 than I did on the Realme 7. So, to get the most value out of your money, I'd still recommend you go with the Realme 6, which by the way is going for 14,000 rupees right now on the company's website. But if you want the latest and greatest from Realme, then the Realme 7 is not a bad option either. But guys, that wraps up my full review of the Realme 7. Do let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video, and if you did, do give us a big thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Also, do let me know what kind of videos do you want to see around the Realme 7. Do you want to see performance comparison, camera comparisons with a similarly priced smartphone? And also, I'll update the pricing in the comments below, and we can have a full-blown discussion as to whether the phone is worth it or not, again in the comments below. But guys, this is it from me. Until next time, this is Prateek from Mr. Phone, signing off.